Good morning. Welcome to HammerCon 2025. It is so good to see you this morning. Yeah. I am Colonel Linda Riddle, and I will be your MC for the main track. I'm in the South Carolina Army National Guard and the DoD Deputy Director for our Cyber Institute at the Citadel. So our theme for this year's conference is Winning Together. Innovation, inspiration, and initiative. If you've been here before, you know exactly that that's what this premier conference is all about. And to be honest, we cannot do this without you. So take some time over the full day course that we have for you and make sure that you are networking, which I know that you'll do, but I just wanted to say it because we cannot do this conference without you. If this is your first time, you're definitely in for a treat. We've got a full day scheduled for you, and it's going to be great. So I will go ahead and talk just a little bit about our agenda. So we'll have our opening ceremony. As you see there, we have everything that's going on. The one thing I really wanted to point out to you, at 16:30, we will have our closing ceremony. At that time, everyone will come back in this auditorium. So at 16:30 for our closing ceremony. If you take a look into your bags, you'll have the agenda. So if everybody can pull out their agenda, it's inside your bag. For this conference, we have 3 tracks. We have the core track, which is our main track. It's our cyber operations readiness and experience. We have the nerd track. New emerging, I know some people are really excited about that, new emerging research and development, which is our academic track. And then we have our GET track, which is growing innovations in tech, which is more geared towards our commercial. So you'll see within your agenda, definitely a full day. Don't feel like you are obligated for one track. You know, if there's something that you want to hear, do, see, please be free to roam around. You'll also see we have 5 villages and corners. We have our new packing, hacking, RF, soldering. Our soldering is the DIY. So you've got your badges. If you want to bling out your badges just a bit and do some really cool stuff, we have CapTech University that's going to have some personnel helping out with that. We have IoT, and then we also have our hiring village as well. So I'll mention our 6 Bs. The barista, brisket, bourbon, bouncers, bucks, and bands. All really cool stuff. You don't want to miss any of those. But I will point out our bouncers, which you'll see we have our trolls. They're in the lime, green, olive, whatever color you want, but you can't miss them. Their job is to make sure that we stay on track. They get you to where you need to be, and they will bounce you out if you cause trouble. That's supposed to be funny. You guys wake up a little bit. All right, there we go. So we also have our Bucks. Our Bucks is our scholarship program, which is pretty awesome. But that's our plan for today. And just to orient you a little bit, so you are in the core, the main conference room here. If you go across, you saw our exhibitors. They're already set up for you. Keep walking across. That's where you'll find the villages as well as the different tracks that we talked about. Okay. So I am told that my job is to keep us on track. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. At this time, I'll ask Sergeant First Class John Ruiz with the 742nd Military Intelligence Battalion to lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That was awesome. Thank you, Sergeant Ruiz. At this time, we will have our opening remarks from our host, Mr. Ray Ewan, Mission Area Executive for Cyber Operations in the Asymmetric Operations Sector of Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory.
Thank you very much, everybody, and good morning. Yep, I am the Mission Area Executive for Cyber Operations here. What that means is I run a program office here focused on the missions that you guys are most keenly interested in. So thanks for being here. On behalf of APL, I am honored to welcome you all to the campus, but more importantly, to this critical event in the community, which brings together government, industry, and academia to focus on military cyber operations. So thanks so much. We're grateful for your service, your expertise, and your dedication to working in this highly complex domain. So let me make a comment about HammerCon. When Mo O'Connor came and said, hey, we have an opportunity to host HammerCon, I said, that's fantastic. I think that's a great alignment between what we want to do in the cyber operations area and the mission of the MPCA. And then I found out that the sub-theme here is, which is not there anymore, innovation, inspiration, and initiative. And I thought that's a perfect connection to the lab, APL. You know, for over 80 years, APL has been operating at the intersection of mission and innovation. And quietly, but impactfully, we've been serving the nation by solving the toughest problems that in defense, security, and space exploration. And I think we are able to do that for two reasons. One, we are a university-affiliated research center, or UARC, for those that aren't following the lingo. And we are the oldest and largest UARC in the country. What that means specifically for our government sponsors is that we are able to provide independent and objective advice, and we also maintain for the DoD core competencies, a broad range of them, to really help not only in the cyber domain, but across many different domains. So that's the first reason. The second reason is the lab is very much focused on one thing. And if you look at our history from our early days, moving forward the proximity fused and moving forward guided missile technology, all the way to more recent activities around space exploration. So some of you may be familiar with the Parker Solar Probe, which is currently orbiting the sun now, invented here, mission operated here from the laboratory. Also the DART, which is the first planetary defense program that NASA had developed, that was mission conceived here, equipment developed here, and operated from here. So those are the kinds of things that we've been working on. And what I'd say is they are representative of the critical challenges that we think the country faces and making the contributions to those. So it's really our focus on making critical contributions to critical challenges that is the message you should be getting. So yes, so that's a little bit about APL. I will say that from my perspective, those challenges that the country faces are continually evolving. And cyber is a particular case because it rests really on information technology, which moves very fast, and really the imagination of the developers of the capabilities. And so because the technology moves fast and is increases our efficiency. Many of our mission systems today rely on that technology. Of course, our adversaries are also watching and leveraging that technology as well. And so we're in this situation where there is a great deal of urgency to get ahead of the adversary, to operate at speed and scale, as well as the complexity of the situation between the technology and the policy, trying to get those aligned properly, a big challenge. We recognize that at APL and in the mission area I run in particular. And so we're focused on things like, in the cyber operations area, resilient systems engineering, artificial intelligence, secure communications, but really with the notion of supporting and empowering the warfighter. That brings me back around to HammerCon. I think the winning together is the right notion for us. We want to bring the technology that we're developing to the warfighter, allow them to easily incorporate that into the mission. What we're doing here today, I think, helps us take that step much more quickly. So again, thanks for everybody doing that. Just a final note, in terms of APL participation, very happy to host here. I will also point out that there are a number of APL staff members that are MPCA members who have volunteered time here, and may be speaking here as well. Please feel free to reach out to them. This is an opportunity for APL to learn a little bit more about the warfighting domain, but also for all of you to learn about APL. And so with that, let me close by saying again, thank you all for coming. Appreciate the time you're going to spend here. I think this is going to be a fantastic day, and so look forward to lots of exchanges of information and business cards. So with that, have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Ewan. At this time, we will hear from our Vice Admiral Retired T.J. White, former commander of the Cyber National Mission Force and 10th Fleet. He serves as the inaugural chairman of MCPA Board of...
Can we go back a couple slides to the 6B slide? Okay.
Here.
Thank you all very much. Is it okay? Can you guys hear me in the back, or am I stuck on the mic? Do I have to be by the mic?
No, if you want to take that one, you
Okay.
can. Just pop it on.
Pop it.
Yep.
Technical. Okay. Hey, thanks for everyone showing up today. APL, thank you very much for hosting. Kind, generous, professional, absolutely awesome. I have been asked up here as the pretty face on the Board of Advisors to offer some thoughts about my view of MCPA, how it started, where it's at, and where it is going to go. What I want all of you to take away, not having cleared any of these comments with either the president or the chairman, where we go is going to be defined by you, the members, right? And I think that that's very, very important. One of the things that I love about this association is that it's of, by, and for the members. And I have been educated by Joe about the distinction and the difference between other nonprofit, other professional affiliations and associations, and I think that that is something that is very unique about MCPA, so I love that. So a couple things up front. If I could ask everyone to stand up. If I could ask Mr. Cleary to sit down. If I could ask all of you to look at him and join me in celebrating his birthday today. So, well, we're going to sing it. We're going to sing it. So on three. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. All right, you guys can sit down now. Can we go, the 6 Bs, yeah, the 6 Bs. Okay, I'm happy to talk to all y'all all day about brisket. Since I dropped the anchor in San Antonio, it's good down there, it's good up here. Friendly competition about where it is best is always welcome. most of the best is probably with who you're enjoying it with. I hope all of you will enjoy the good brisket from Mission Barbecue today. Bourbon, similar comments. Drink well and responsibly. And like operations in cyberspace, variety is good, and expertise takes commitment. Just saying. Band. They asked Taylor to show up. Kelsey had other plans. So, sorry, it didn't work out. Okay, that humor fell really flat. Like nobody got it. Shake it off. Okay. Let me offer some thoughts on this. Military. Yes, and. I learned that from Sean Heritage. Yes, and. It's not just military. It might begin with military, but it is not successful with only military. It takes the team, it takes civilians, it takes the professionals across the DoD, across government, across the intel community, across industry, across UARCs. Yes, Johns Hopkins, thank you. It is a team. The reason military is labeled is because it's about the national security enterprise of the nation and have called upon its Department of Defense. And in a pinch, in a fight, when called upon, having the capacity, the capability, and the resolve, because we have the demonstrated capacity and capability to do what the nation's asks us to do. So thanks to all of you. So please feel like you're on this team, whether you are in or out of uniform. So thank you very much. Cyber. I have no idea what that word means. So my shtick on this when I talk to people is it's a noun, it's an adjective, it's a verb, but mostly it's an expletive. And so what you can contribute is just having a clear-eyed pursuit of excellence in this space, whatever your secure, operate, protect, defend, exploit, attack, information operations related, or other aspect of cyber that I haven't come across yet, but I suspect is happening, because if it is happening in cyberspace, it's probably being done by someone in the Department of Defense or the IC and someone in this audience, even if we may not know about it. So thanks for that. Professionals. It's about having a standard. It's about maintaining that standard. It's about raising that bar. And it's about being committed to that standard. And I think the best thing that you can say about an organizations of professionals is that they establish, welcome, train, assess, adjudicate, maintain, and police that standard, right? And I think that our nation, whatever strategic competition is, whether it's going to be with China or something unanticipated or disruptive or unexpected, or whether it's one of the continuing ongoing conflicts that we have in the Levant or in Eastern Europe or wherever it is, I'm very confident that whatever is going on in cyberspace is going on there now. It's probably been going on there for a while, and the nation requires it to go on in perpetuity. So we as professionals need to sustain and perpetuate the excellence that I think all of you, I hope, like me, aspire to support and be a part of, because we are in this other word, association. It's voluntary, it's by choice, it's efficient. Hopefully, with more participation, it can be more effective. One of the things I had the occasion to do in participating with the board meeting yesterday, and the advisors and the chairman and the president, is talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a part of the association? What does the membership look like? What constitutes it? How big? How much? How often? Should it cost? Should it not cost? 5,000 members, Mr. Cleary will talk a little bit about this, but how many members could it be? How many members should it be? I think you all should have a view of that matter, and I would encourage you to let us know what you want it to be. And I think a healthy, resilient, vibrant association of professionals committed to the defense enterprise and the national security enterprise of this nation in this domain, right? You can choose, because no one knows more, no one knows better than you. And for the young folks in the room, as you continue your path and your professional journey, you'll have an opportunity to inform national level decision makers and policy makers. And if you have frustrations in this domain about what you hope to do, aspire to do, feel you should be authorized to do, or be ordered to do, if you're not there, if we're not there, it may be that what we can do to contribute to getting there is make sure that we maintain those professional standards, we talk responsibly and definitively and openly and purposefully and in a well-informed manner about what the opportunity is, what the cost and burden is, and what the risk is. So you're going to hear an awful lot about success with technology, vulnerability in technology, where we need to go with cybersecurity in this domain across the nation, critical infrastructure. You should have conversations amongst yourself, force, no force, separate service, I don't know. I have an opinion which I'm happy to share with you one-on-one, but I'm not offering an opinion about that as a member of MCPA. You should all feel informed enough and confident enough in your data to have a discussion about any topic related to this domain. So I think that that would be remarkable and an outcome. Okay, so in the interest of continued public embarrassment, I would like to ask my friend Dave Luber to stand up and come over here somewhere in the middle of the stage. Just because I have the mic and these guys were foolish enough to give me one, I would just simply like to say thank you for your 3+ decade career defending this country, securing our future, being part of the intelligence community, being part of the Department of Defense, being a doer, being an enabler, and being a leader in this mission space, Dave. For those of you that don't know Dave, which I suspect is a small percentage of this population, a remarkable career. We first met 2008, 2009. You were working with other ne'er-do-well at the agency, Mr. Rob Schreier. I see him over there. And you were working with an organization called Advanced Network Operations. And my life changed because you two knuckleheads ruined it. When you did your job and let it be known that we had a small problem on U.S. military command and control networks originating in the Middle East by a state actor, and that started a 24-month odyssey of incredibly stupidly long hours, the result of which was the establishment of United States Cyber Command, which we got only a little right, as we are finding out changes. It's a dynamic organization. They're so much better today than they were 15 years ago. And in large measure, Dave, that is because of what you brought as a leader. From your career at the agency, your time overseas, I think one of those was Bad Aibling. Yes. From your time at Chicma, where you're probably listening to me and my sailors say stupid shit while we were away and under afloat on operations, to your time at A&O, and a host of other assignments, to include Executive Director of U.S. Cyber Command, if I got that right, and then wrapping up as the Chief of NSA's Cybersecurity Directorate. So a remarkable career, remarkable achievement, but mostly what I would say, one of the things I would like to recognize you with here, Mr. Cleary will do this, as a leader and as a mentor. So if all of you could just give a round of applause. So this is the Order of Thor medal awarded by the MCPA. Would you like to say anything? Okay. Oh.
This picture.
All right.
That's right over here.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it over to you. All right. Say whatever you want about whomever you want. And then when you're done, just give the mic to Chris. Okay, we'll do it. Thanks, sir.
Well, first off, TJ, thank you so much. It's great to be here today. When I think about 38 years working for the National Security Agency, working for the Department of Defense, it's just a privilege and an honor to be a part of such a professional group of folks. And when I look across the audience, many of you in this audience, somewhere along the path, we've been in that journey together. TJ mentioned the activities back in 2008, and as we continue to then build the command and then set forth goals and aspirations to build cyber mission teams and to see outcomes in cyberspace, full spectrum outcomes, it's just been tremendous to see the growth over the last 15 years. It's really great to be here today, and as I look at your theme, Winning Together, it reminds me of the power of partnerships. And when I think about partnerships and how important they are to cyberspace, I think about the partnerships across the U.S. government. You talked about civilian and military. I think about also the other levers of national power that we have across the U.S. government and how we can work together to strengthen those partnerships. I think about the partnerships between government and industry and how important it is. Government and academia, partnerships with our second-party partners and other select foreign partners. Collectively, the power of partnerships, I think, is going to help us win together. So really appreciate, again, the recognition, the opportunity to be here today, and the opportunity to serve with all of you over the past 38 years. Thank you.
All right, so I got a lapel mic on. First lesson I learned is never let TJ go first. Thank you for that, TJ. That was amazing, and now I'm humbled, and I don't know what I'm going to say now, because you took all my best lines. Where's the clicker? Thank you. So, my name's Chris Cleary. I'm the president of the organization. Joe asked me to step in about 2-ish years ago, and this is our 4th HammerCon. It's amazing to see everybody in this room. What's even more amazing is I've got to call out some of the giants in the room. You know, we talked about Mr. Luber being here, TJ, obviously, the Mission Force Commander, Fleet Cyber. We've got Rick Howard, one of the first Army cyber defensive. We got Greg Toohill, who basically stood up a lot of the stuff for the president at DHS running CISA. Dan Rags, how do you not know Ragsdale? Who knows? Everybody knows Dr. Ragsdale. On the site, Mr. Schreier, I can't believe it's been forever since I've seen you. We were at CyberCom together. General Davis, who is the JTF GNO commander when I was a nobody at that organization, just slugging it out, also working ridiculously long hours before the organization came together. But when you take a look around, you sort of look at the giants in this room that built this community. And the funny thing about it is when you're reading the history books of how all these things got started, if we want to talk about aviation, you can go back 100 years and talk about, Billy Mitchell and the Wright brothers and this. You're sort of living amongst history right now. I mean, the people who created Cyber Command are in this room. The people who did some of the first name cyber operations are in this room. The people who are going to do some of the future cyber operations, I'm sure, are in this room or conducting them. Maybe they're not here right now. Maybe they were planning to be, and they're not here for other reasons, for obvious reasons, which is unfortunate that they can't be here, but is pretty amazing that this is where the community has come to. This is what makes up the community. I mean, when we look at the logos on this slide, these are the organizations that have stood up to support or sponsor or be associated with or advocate for or champion or. Joe started, this was an idea of Joe's 13-ish years ago. Joe and I met when I was asked to come speak at the Naval Postgraduate School and give a cyber talk, and Joe was a student there, and he just approached me and he gave me this idea. He says, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Well, 13 years later, look where we are. 5,000 members. The Order of Thor has become sort of the de facto, or we're continuing to try and drive for the Order of Thor to be the de facto way that we recognize each other in this community. We can see that it's been given out overseas. It's been given out to units. We go to a lot of graduation ceremonies. We try to recognize those that we think are carrying forth the mission in this community. And the Order of Thor is the way we do that. So for those of you who are out there who think there are people that should be recognized or things you'd like to do for recognition, please reach out to us, and we are certainly willing and help to facilitate that. Look at just the big picture of sort of what started MCPA in the future and sort of the core fundamental things that we've been doing over the last 13 years. Well, first of all, recognition. We already talked about the coins. Later today, you're going to see we hand out a scholarship award to an enlisted member who's fulfilling cyber obligations. We're going to do that later today at 1600, right? So we do that in the afternoon. Our events. Right, yeah, we do HammerCon, but we're also associated with other things at Black Hat and DEF CON in Vegas. We have done doing the arcade party for years. We participate in VetCon and the national service panels. So as an organization, not only do we have our anchor events, but there's things that we've tried to associate with others to continue to spread the word and the mission of the organization. Okay, chapters. I'm going to pivot here for just a minute. So as the organization stood up, many of you have volunteered to become chapter members or chapter leaders. Do I have chapter members here in the audience? Yeah, just stand up real quick, just to be recognized. So what we appreciate is for the people that have been, thank you. So what's really amazing about this is not only do we have the sort of the anchor, the main, the conference to this, but many of you, 9 organizations to be specific, have gone off and started your own chapters, have your own meetings, push your own problem sets, talk about your own wants, needs, and desires, and where the community can go, and coming together. And I think that's the power of this organization. For those of you who were at the event last night, I said this, I'm going to say it again. I would argue that everybody in this room, talk about the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. In this community, there's not 7 degrees. Everybody in this room either knows each other directly or is connected by one person. So this is a very, very small community. We know everybody. We know the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the heroes, the people who have been there, done that. We all talk quietly in our secret corners about the things and the sea stories and the going on. So this is not a big community, but TJ brought up a really good point. We currently are represented by about 5,000 members that make up the organization. What is the possible number? I think we were talking about last night in the Navy alone, you could get to 25 or 30,000 members in the Navy that would justifiably be recognized as somebody in the cyber community. The Army, I'm sure the number is even bigger. So what is that outreach that we have? What are the people that should and could be a member of this organization? And again, we're in the process where I sort of call this one of our coming out parties, right? This is an awesome venue. This is an awesome event. And we're getting the recognition. Again, Mr. Luber, thank you for coming and recognizing this. One of my favorite people that I forgot to mention was General Ryan Heritage, who was very, very nice to me when I was the PCA. The Marines are awesome. What I love to say about the Marine Corps, any more Marines in here? Right, Roger? So I said this was my favorite thing that I learned about the Marines when I was doing the PCA thing was Marines are the simplest creatures on the planet. And I mean that in the most complimentary way that I can say it. Because if you ask any Marine, I'm going to paraphrase this, I'm going to get it slightly wrong, but if you ask any Marine in the audience what their mission is to locate, close with the enemy, and destroy through fire maneuvers. That's it. That's all they do. It's like the shark, Jaws, 50th anniversary. I swim, I eat, I make baby sharks. That's all Marines do. And if you give a Marine a mission, they're going to figure out how to do it with locating and closing with the enemy and destroying with fire and maneuvers. And I have to appreciate, General Heritage, you were amazing at that, and I think the Marines really have set the lead for how we've been doing this. With that said, we're going to do something special today, before I get into my other comments. We're going to do something that we've never done before, but we think it's an appropriate venue to do this. And we're going to recognize chapter leads. So Brian Morgan and Major Pete Kapelansky. Sorry, I had to look at that. I was going to forget how to say it. Please come forward. So they're the chapter presidents of the Minnesota chapter. All right. Arguably, one of our most successful chapters, and you're like, cyber in Minnesota, what are they doing in Minnesota? Is there just nothing else to do in Minnesota? I don't know, maybe this is how we do this. So Joe, if we're going to come up, so what we're going to do is we're going to do more of an Army tradition than anything else, is we're going to pass the guide on. We decided to do this. We think we'd like to do this at every HammerCon when we recognize some leadership changes. And we'd like to pass the guide on to recognize leadership change from one to the other. Thank you. Welcome. You guys want to say anything? I mean, you did some awesome stuff. Yeah, please.
So thanks, everybody, for the applause. As Minnesota chapter president, I just want to say it has been an absolute glorious honor to say that we stood up the chapter from scratch. So back in like the mid 2010, 2017, 16-ish, I got some email from some guy named Joe regarding some organization in MCPA, and I subscribed and wasn't very active. It wasn't until we did a task force ECHO rotation in 2020 where I asked to meet with Joe and Christine at some restaurant, and we sat down and we said, hey, how about starting a chapter in the Midwest? A lot of the cyber opportunities, a lot of the cyber force is really structured around the NCR and East Coast, and some South and some West, but there's really not a whole huge presence in the Midwest. Although we do have cyber presence there, just there was no collective home. So, we stood up the chapter. We have over 100 members now, and I feel like I'm strapped to the side of a Saturn V rocket, and it's just flying into space, soon to be the new Artemis mission and all that kind of stuff. But, the acceleration of this organization is I think, limitless. The things that MCPA is doing to consolidate all of the different branches of service when it comes to cyber, it's the home for our community. And that's what we try to tell our members is, hey, if you're wearing a blue uniform or a green uniform or no uniform at all and you've retired, like this is your home. I'm an MI officer, I'm a signal officer, I'm a cyber officer. Every different branch in the Army, at least, has got, the Order of St. Barbara or the Order of Mercury or, the Knowlton Award in some case. And we have the Order of Thor. And that is a wonderful thing that you stood up. And so it's been my honor to lead the Minnesota chapter for the last 5 years. Major Kaplansky is taking over, and we want to keep growing the chapter. We want to keep growing the community because every member we bring into this organization helps the efforts at the national level, the lobbying we're doing to help direct the future of cyber and defend the country. No more important mission to me exists. So it's been an honor. Thank you very much. Yep.
And Brian is also now standing up as the Director of Chapter Operations. So that's another, as anybody is interested anywhere else in the country, you think that you're missing some cyber love, please, if you're thinking about sponsoring a chapter or doing your own thing, please reach out to Brian. Brian can help you through that. Okay, remarks. Once again, I lost the clicker. Here it is. Cyber. All right, moving on. So I just wanted to say a few words before the conference gets started. And, TJ, again, should never go first because he's already said a lot of this better than I'm going to go say it myself. But maybe I'll be a little more specific on the details. When we talk about the community, once again, I think what's interesting about this community is we could probably snap a chalk line and say, let's call it 2010. Let's call 2010 the standing up of US Cybercom as the, AD, BC sort of moment. We all know we were doing lots of stuff before that time, but there did come an official moment when we stood up US Cybercom that we all seemed to say, okay, this is the go mark, right? We'll call it here. Well, if you think about it, we're only 15 years into this. So for anybody in this room, we have yet to have that person go through an entire career yet. You think about the Naval Academy just this year started their Maritime Cyber Warfare Officers. They've just commissioned the first one. So officially in the Navy, we just started that career community a year ago, and the first ensign is just in it. So the first official cyber officer has got to go 20 years before they're going to do an official 20-year career here. Right? So when you think about it, when the mission started back in the day, a lot of the people just came to it as whatever position they were at. I remember when I showed up to Cybercom, I was a lieutenant commander, and General Lacamont, who was the J3, was an MI officer, and we just started this thing called cyber, and they threw a bunch of people in it. But when you look at where the community's gone now, you have people that we're going to be talking to in a little bit. Lieutenant General Paul Stanton, one of the real deals. You could argue that General Paul Stanton was one of the first true cyber, junior officers that really came up through the ranks and has now attained the level of Lieutenant General and commanding DISA. He's one of the first that have really set the path for that. Who's going to be the next, right? So we're all just sort of in this mission a little bit. So I'm going to tell a couple funny sea stories, a metaphor too. I don't know if they'll go over. I don't know if they'll land. I kind of wing it when I come up here. Most of you have heard some of these stories before. But I'm thinking when I use that term snapping a chalk line, if we had to snap a chalk line right now on the cyber community, we would look at it and it looks pretty healthy. If you're looking at me, I look pretty healthy. I got my 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes, ears, nose. I can talk, I can hear. I look pretty healthy. But only my wife sees this spot on the back that she asks me every single day to go see the doctor about. Right? Chris, when are you going to go see the doctor about it? Oh, only the 2 of us are aware of that. Now, it turned out to be nothing. But the point is, it was something that had to be looked at. So the question is, when we look at the health of the cyber community, we have a cyber command. We have an elevated new command under DISA, under General Stanton. We have the service cyber components. We have all the communities and sort of agencies that have stood up all around it. But I would imagine that when we look really, really close at it, there are some things that draw attention that, to one degree or another, maybe some concern. Readiness levels, retention, resourcing, prioritization. So just over the weekend, we had Operation Midnight Hammer. 15 years ago, we had Stuxnet. Now, I know we still don't really take credit for any of that. I had nothing to do with it. I was at the organization, I think, when something went down. But maybe you can make the argument, was it Stuxnet that drove Iran back 15 years, which was 15 years later we had to drop a bomb on them? I don't know. But that was the one thing you could go back and point to and say that this community did something like that with our partners and allies that took that program and pushed it back so many years. But the interesting thing that happened after the Operation Hammer event was almost the next day you could see articles written for the need of more and faster production of the B-21 Raider, right? We saw it. We saw planes fly, very classified, nobody knows how they work, and do a mission that was awesome. And the immediate reaction to that is we need more of this. Well, one of the things that was also hinted at is that Cyber Command and U.S. Strategic Command and U.S. And Space Command all had pieces and parts of this. But you haven't interestingly seen a big demand for money or resources or prioritization to go to those organizations because we really don't talk about what they did or how they supported and what they really brought to the fight. One of the arguments that I've been making for a long time, and I think most notably this community is the one that drives this mission forward, is how we talk about this space. Now, what was funny being, because we've all kind of been there, done that. We've all been behind the green door to one degree or another. And we've all been quiet professionals for a long, long time. And we've all been not really talked about what it is that we did because of the sensitivities around those things. And I would argue, the metaphor that I use for this is I'll use a Navy analogy. The Columbia-class submarine. The Columbia-class submarine is arguably the most sensitive program the Department of the Navy is working on right now. I have no idea how deep it goes, how quiet it is, or what the range yield of accuracy of its weapons are. Those are all classified for very, very important reasons. But I know we're buying them. I know they cost $10 million a copy. I know when they're going to be made. I know where they're going to be deployed. And I know why we're doing it. We're very vocal about why we have to accrue this platform to perform this mission at the cost that it is. So everybody can justify it and say, yeah, we can look pictures at it. We can talk about it. We can point at it. We don't know how it works. I don't know how the B-2 works. I don't know how the B-21 works. But we've seen it in action, which can justify further resources supporting those mission spaces. So how do we do that here? Once again, the community is healthy, but what's that next step? What's the thing that we all need to champion together to continue to advocate, to establish more credibility in the space? Because I'm sure you've all had these problems with your traditional warfare brethren. I don't know what you cyber guys do, but you do something. But I can point at these other things, and I know exactly what those things are. So how do we begin to carry this water forward? How do we begin to just justify the return on investment? Particularly around training and retention. For all of those things, we all know it's not trivial to create a cyber operator. How long does it take to create an ION? Just to get them out of the schoolhouse? About 2 years? Just to go from, and that's about probably the career path for a nuclear operator on a submarine. It's probably about the length of a career path for most military pilots. And there's a cost and there's an investment associated to that. That's not trivial. How do we retain those forces? How do we continue to say that this is an important means and methods of warfare, which I come back to, and TJ hinted at, and I'll sort of foot stomp on. And this is why when we talk about the military side of it, TJ did a really good job to say it's not just uniform, it's a team sport. There's all kinds of things that go to enable that pointy end of the spear. But it is military. When you look at fundamentally the two core missions of the Department of Defense, I would argue, again, we could challenge on this, that they exist for two fundamental reasons: to deliver lethality or prevent lethality from being delivered on things that we want to protect. And people say, well, Chris, you're getting a little edgy with that. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. What does the Columbia-class submarine, the Joint Strike Fighter, and the Abrams tank all have in common? Well, none of those platforms were built to deliver humanitarian aid. Right? And that's the nervous laugh it gets. I always wait for that because it gets that nervous laugh. People go, oh yeah, that is. The B-2 bomber doesn't carry water bottles. Right? It doesn't drop MREs. F-18s don't drop MREs to feed the hungry. There are weapon platforms. So I think when you look at the advancement of this mission set, particularly around the military side of it, I would argue we're as much as a warfighter as anybody else on the field. And how do we become a support element, which we've been seeing for a long, long time, to an on-the-field player. Anybody here read Moneyball? All right, Moneyball is one of my favorite books. And if you read the book, it goes into the hitting philosophy of the Oakland Athletics. And actually, the hitting coach of the Oakland Athletics was a Marine officer who came in and taught the Oakland Athletics how to hit. And if you've all seen the movie, you all saw it was about on-base percentage, right? That was what they were going for. But when you read in the book is when they got into the philosophy behind that. And the philosophy behind their hitting philosophy was every single player comes to the plate like they're a leadoff hitter. Right, because anybody who's played baseball or have kids that play baseball, you know the first 3 hitters are the guys that get on base, the next 3 hitters are the people that put it over the fence, and the next 3 hitters are just really fast, and they usually strike out most of the time, but you need them in defensive positions on the field. So the idea is every single player had to come to the plate with the idea that they are a leadoff hitter. Your goal is to get on first base, because that's how you score runs. But the second philosophy of it was you had to demonstrate you could hit with power. Because when you got into the hitting philosophy was if you could hit with power, a pitcher was not going to throw you your pitch. And then the third part of it was you had to be disciplined at the plate, that hitting was much more a mental game than a physical game. You bring all those 3 things together and you're disciplined, you get a pitcher to throw you pitches that are balls, you don't swing at them, you get on first base, you get walked. Or if he gives you your pitch, you put it over the fence. Because he doesn't want to give you your pitch because he's afraid he's going to hit it, because you've demonstrated you can hit with power. Okay, now let's talk about our community. Right? I would argue that our community needs to believe that we are leadoff hitters. You know, and in most instances, we probably are leadoff hitters. We were probably the leadoff hitter for the Operation Hammer. Maybe we'll read about it someday in the future. I hope that we were leadoff hitters for that. But to be a leadoff hitter, you have to demonstrate you can hit with power. You have to be credibly to say that, no, I think I'm going to put you at the plate, and you're going to do exactly what I need you to do, which leads to the credibility of the community. And then I would argue the third metaphor is, you know, this is a much more mental game than a physical game. And I think all of you would agree that cyber is a much more mental game that requires the way we're going to leverage technology to achieve those end states. So I'll wrap up with this. Because there's only 1 degree of separation amongst us, because we're going to do all the outreach and the things we want to do, but it's mostly about us being together and sharing those stories. So when you're not hearing the panels, when you're not listening to the talkers, go out into the lobby and meet and talk to each other and share those stories. How do we continue to advocate for this mission space? What are the things we are comfortable talking about? And how is it we are going to represent all of us to lead other decision makers to want to resource, prioritize, yada, 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 those things that is going to continue to blow wind into the sails of this community and you know, move us all forward. I think MCPA is the voice of that. We're trying to position ourselves as the voice of that, as the clearinghouse for a lot of these things. So wants, needs, desires, concerns, questions, thought experiments, things that we should be talking about, things we shouldn't be talking about, by all means, be vocal with all of that. I welcome your participation in the entire conference. I'm available at any time for anybody to do a sidebar or just hold court out in the lobby. With that, thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting the Military Cyber Professional Association, and I hope you enjoy the day.